Oh, didn't see you there. Hey, what's up? It's your boy Jay Williams, ex-Facebook, ex-Google Tech. No, I'm just playing. I'm not ex-Google, ex-Facebook, anything. I've only been graduated out of college for a year, so I haven't really done all too much. But hey, that's not the point of this video. Earlier in the year, I was doing research because the job that the company that I work for right now, they use React Native for the mobile apps, and I'm a software test engineer, so I'll do a little bit of the manual testing and part of the automation effort and things of that nature. But our app is built in React Native, and I was doing some research on what React Native was because at the time I didn't really know about cross-platform mobile app development. Even though I was a computer science major, we did all these things in school, I still didn't learn about a cross-platform mobile app. A cross-platform mobile app development, any type of anything really. It was always Java Android Studio for Android development, or Swift and Xcode, or if you're one of those people that like Objective-C for iOS development. And I didn't really know anything about cross-platform. And then, so my job uses React Native, so I started doing research on what it was, and I found out that it's a cross-platform library, not a cross-platform framework, as a lot of people think that it is. But React Native is a cross-platform JavaScript library that lets you build cross-platform apps by pretty much having a singular code base and not having to write Swift code or Objective-C if you're one of those people for iOS, or Java or Kotlin for Android. And I'm really big on cross-platform because I am a game developer and I use the Unity game engine, and the Unity game engine allows me to the Unity game engine allows me to write cross-platform C# code for Android, iOS, even Mac, Windows, Xbox, pretty much all the platforms that Unity supports, which is PlayStation, Xbox, iOS, Android. So all of that, I can, of course I had to change things for different controls and screens and all that, but as far as the core functionality and everything, I can write cross-platform code. And I specialize in mobile game development because I have always been a poker gamer, if you would say. So earlier I would like the game off my Game Boy and PSP, and now this is like my portable game as well. So I've always been really big on mobile game development. Outside of that, the next thing that intrigues me the most in the development field is mobile application development. So when I found out that there was a cross-platform thing JavaScript library called React Native, that immediately caught my interest. So as I'm researching this, I run across a video from a YouTuber called Techlead that says React Native is garbage, and then he goes through and lists all his reasons and stuff. But I want to kind of say why I don't think React Native is garbage. Now, I haven't done too much inside of React Native, so I guess I can't speak to it from that sense, but I have done a little bit. And of course, the mindset of working with a cross-platform technology is already in me from using Unity to write cross-platform games for mobile and stuff, like I said earlier. But I don't think that React Native is garbage. I think that it's, cross-platform mobile application library like that, I think that is actually quite genius. So you can, cut down on costs. You can write code once and then run it on iOS and run it on Android, instead of having to have a Java development team or a Java developer, and then you're trying to have an iOS developer in Swift, and you guys are trying to recreate the same thing in these two completely different technologies for the same application. So I think that having a cross-platform library or technology like that is quite genius. And in the video, he goes through and says a lot of stuff about native. Like, he keeps bringing up native quite a bit. And I think the reason why he keeps bringing up native, because I guess when he was working at Google and Facebook, he said he did a lot of native code and everything, and maybe the people that agree with him about saying that native is better, I think deep down inside, the native mobile application developers are scared of becoming obsolete. So they're trying to downplay these cross-platform technologies like React Native. I think another one is called Flutter. I believe that's Google's cross-platform thing. And I think these native developers are honestly scared of becoming obsolete, being replaced by something that's that's more appealing. Now let's see, cause let's just say you're a company, right, and you're going out, you want to build a mobile application. You're doing research and stuff, and then you see, okay, it will call. I had to pay a Java developer $70,000 a year, Android Java developer $70,000 a year, then the iOS Swift developer another $70,000 a year. So now you have to pay them $140,000 a year to work on your application. And then you turn around and say, or I can hire a single React Native developer for $70,000 a year that can write the code once and it runs on both platforms. And now it's like, okay, and the business is like, okay, well, I can save myself $70,000 by hiring a React Native developer instead of hiring an iOS native developer and an Android native developer. And then the native developers are like, well, we're out of work right now, and the React Native developer is like, cha-ching, run me my money. So I think that's what it is deep down inside. They're scared of becoming obsolete. And then he's saying, so what's the point? Even the big tech companies aren't using it, so why should you? And my answer to that is, if you already have something in place, you just can't slap something on top of it. For example, if I'm making my mobile games inside of Unity using the cross-platform technology, I'm not gonna come out of that and then try to write me some native Android version and then some native iOS version of my game to try to slap in there. Like, that doesn't make sense. If my game is already built and running successfully using Unity, I'm not going to go too much through the extra effort of trying to make a native iOS version, a native Android version of that game. So the reverse of that can be said true for these tech companies. If they already have a native iOS app and a native Android app for the most part built, there's not really too much of a purpose to go rewrite all of that for React Native. Like, the cost is just too much. If you already have a native app built for Android and iOS, it's probably going to cost you more to try to rewrite all of that in React Native. Thus making the benefit that you get from using React Native is greatly diminished if you do that. However, on the flip side of that, if you do not have a fully developed iOS app or Android app, or you don't have an app developed at all, then React Native will make perfect sense for you. You want to be efficient as possible, and in this competitive day and age, you need something to give you an edge, and being able to write your code once is a greater benefit than writing something in native and writing something natively for iOS and writing something natively for Java. So maybe it's like a pride thing. Maybe it's like people feel better that they wrote something in native. Like, oh, I wrote this natively and you had to write it in React Native, so I'm clearly smarter than you. Maybe that's also a reason why they try to downplay it. And maybe that's the reason Techlead, maybe that's the reason why he tried to downplay it by saying React Native is garbage. Advocating for native so much because he was a native developer, and he feel like he's becoming obsolete. Maybe he feels like what he's learned and done throughout the years is becoming less relevant now due to these cross-platform technologies. And that's honestly what I feel like, because if you factor in everything, you really can't see a reason on why not to use React Native. And then another point he brought up is that you still have to write native code for the most part, but generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to even need to write native code when you're using React Native. Whatever you need to do specifically can be done in React Native without having to bring in any native code, be it Java, Kotlin, Objective-C, or Swift. So I just can't agree with the notion that React Native is garbage. I just don't get it. Now, this isn't scripted or anything. This is just kind of me rambling off the top of my head about me disagreeing with his point that React Native is, or not his point, but his claim that React Native is garbage. Because if we analyze this from everything, write code once, run it on multiple platforms. The speed is just fine, because That's another thing he brought up. He brought up the speed. Now you have like this bar that's acceptable about how speed should be on the app. And native is like down here, so it's like well below what would be considered acceptable. I mean, not well below, but well above. Like this is the line of what's acceptable. Native is down here, so it's extremely acceptable, of course, because it's native. And then React Native is somewhere right here. Right here to now it's a lot slower than native per se, but what's acceptable as far as actual real life use cases for it, it doesn't make too much of a difference. It's not going to make too much of a difference. Something like logging into Twitter, if it takes me 0.8 seconds to log in on the native version of a Twitter app or Facebook app, if it takes me 0.8 seconds to log in, but then it takes me 1.2 seconds to log in on React Native, like that's not a huge difference. And for you know, most users, unless you're extremely particular, that's not going to be a problem at all. So if you already have an existing, you know, native app or whatever, then yes, slapping React Native on there is not ideal. Or if you already have a app built with a cross-platform technology or a game built with a cross-platform technology, it's not going to be ideal to go to try to make native versions of that. However, if you don't have an app developed, using React Native would be genius. But I don't know, this is kind of my rambling on me disagreeing with Techlead's point. If you guys agree or disagree with that React Native is garbage or it isn't garbage, you know, leave a comment below. We have a discussion about it. I love debating anyway, so we go ahead and talk about it, or we just talk about it. You know, I'm a nerd too, so we just talk about the code and whatnot. But I just want to give my thoughts on that. But you know, it's your boy Jay Williams, the tech rapper, you know, the rapper, developer, whatever you want to call me. And I'll catch you guys in this video, and I'm out.